Hello, welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen. I'm the host of this podcast. I'm excited to be here tonight. And I need a director. I need someone to say, just keep going. Don't delete it. This is like my fourth try. So I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to delete it no matter what. Oh, here I am. And who knows what I was rambling on about before. And I thought, you don't need to hear that, but maybe you did. Who knows? We'll find out. I guess we'll never find out. But today's episode is about playing to your strengths. What are your strengths? Everyone has strengths. And when you have challenges, if you use your advantages, whatever advantages you have, rely on those, then you have a better chance of doing well. It just makes sense, right? So, leaning on your strengths. How can you do that when you have ADHD? There are a lot of things that can trip you up, like if you ever have task paralysis, the inability to get yourself to do something when you want to do it. You've told yourself you're going to do it. You set a time to do it. You have everything set up to do it. You know, you need to do it. People might be coming. You need to do it, and you still don't do it. And how do you get yourself to do it? And there are a lot of ways to do that. What would your strength be? What would be a way to get out of that? Maybe a strength doesn't help with that. Maybe you really just have to cheat the system. Maybe your strength is you have friends and you tell your friends, come over and make me do this. Work with me, help me. You find whatever tools you have. Maybe that's your strength, is you have creativity, you have resources. You think it's not working on my own, all by myself. And so you find a way to hack that system of just trying to do it on your own. One of the methods I talked about, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, was finding the fun in something and just doing the fun thing. And that's kind of playing to your enjoyment level of what you like, what will get you to do it. But playing to your strengths might be, let's say that it's not a task. Let's say it's something you have to make some money. On top of whatever money you make, you need to make some money. And a lot of people do that in different ways. And maybe they don't make a lot of money. Maybe you have a yard sale, a garage sale or something. Maybe you know how to post things online that you can sell. I used to sell things on eBay. I haven't done that in a long time. And I have a laundry basket full of things that I've wanted to put on some kind of website like Poshmark or Facebook Marketplace or something, and I haven't done it in a long time. But if you get creative, maybe you're good at creativity. Maybe you find a way to make it fun, not just fun, but it plays to what you like to do. Like, I think in the last episode, I talked about needing to make Amazon returns or whatever store that you're buying from, and you need to make those returns, and you really can't get yourself to do it. But if you find a groove, some kind of mode or some kind of method that's been fun for you to do before, if you can get yourself just to slide into that, then it's like you're tricking yourself to do it. I don't know if you've ever done that with children, but you can't get them to do something. And so let's say you want them to read a book and they don't feel like reading a book, but then you say, well, let's just go in here and look at your closet. And maybe that's where the books are. I'm just thinking back to when my kids had a closet with shelves on it. And you just find a way to get them in that environment that leads them to reading that book. And if you find a way to get yourself closer to something that will help you do it, like let's say those Amazon returns, when I finally said, okay, you got to do this, and then found, well, I do like printing out the little QR codes. I do like cutting those up and putting them, actually this time I didn't cut it up. Usually I cut them up and tape them to the package and have them in, and then I'm just so organized. It plays to that really organized. I won't say obsessive compulsive. It might be. It's not OCD, but there is some, method to it, some perfectionism, organizational thing that plays to something that I like doing once I start doing it. Once I find this really simple mode, it could even be like that with a closet you need to clean. And the idea of cleaning the closet might be really hard, but the idea of color coding your shirts or deciding I'm going to put all my pants in these buckets instead of in a drawer or on hangers. And the buckets will look really nice here. And whether you fold them in a certain way, roll them up a certain way, or don't care and just have them in there like it's clean laundry in a bucket. I know a lot of people do that. I don't know why I don't. I would rather have baskets of laundry piled up that aren't folded or anything that I have to go through than actually have buckets. I have room for that in my closet. I like to have them rolled up. I think because it's easier to find things. But if you never get them put away, then you're never finding them anyway. So whatever that zone is that you get into and it causes you to really enjoy it and get into that mode of now I do this and now I do this. It's kind of that little method mode. I'm in the flow of doing it. And once you develop that, especially if you do something many times and you find that you like that, even in the morning, whatever a routine is, if you have a routine and you know that I like I like doing this once this is done. So, like, let's say you like to put ice in your water bottle and you like to have a hydration powder in your water bottle if you're going to go to the gym or whatever that is, a pre workout. Maybe you don't do that, but I do that. Whatever that is that gets you to drink your water or to set it up, and you go through that little routine first of doing it, anything that gets you into a mindless zombie state. I'm just doing this, I'm enjoying it, and it leads to accomplishing the goal, then that's really good. It's kind of those tiny little tasks, but it's finding something that you're already good at to get you to do something that's the bigger picture. Because sometimes the big picture, and there might be parts of that picture that you don't know how to do, but you do this much, or maybe you don't like making a phone call. Like I had to make a phone call, didn't have to, but I made a phone call to Amazon because I was past the return date. And phone calls aren't awful, but the wait times and all that and pushing all the buttons and then they send you the confirmation code or and then it links to this and doesn't have your password. There's all those steps. Sometimes that, we want to avoid those. But whatever it is that's a struggle for you, do the things that are easier first, that play into the parts that you already like and just do those. Maybe somebody else can help you with the other part. If you don't like to clean the kitchen, but you like to wipe off counters, maybe just move everything onto one counter and get out a little spray and a cloth and clean all the counters. I like cleaning counters like that a lot. It just feels good to have empty counters and it gives the appearance of clean, even if there are some dishes that aren't clean. Even it could be like that with your desk too, or even just taking things and putting them in a box. I don't know if you do that with paperwork or something, and moving it to where you have a clean slate and you find something that you do like to do, and it helps. Maybe you get to that other step without even thinking it, but because you're in a better mode, your brain's in a better state, and you can do that. But whatever your strengths are, and some people talk about ADHD superpowers. You might have some strengths that come because you have ADHD. You might have strengths because of just who you are. We all have gifts. Everyone has a gift. So, whatever those gifts are, maybe even offer to do that thing instead of the things that you don't do well. Maybe do a trade with a friend or something. Maybe cut some corners of what your goals were in the first place. Like if you have plans for gift giving at Christmas time and some of them take a lot more time than other things, then maybe negotiate with yourself not to set yourself up for, a lot of stress at that time or whatever. But whatever your strengths are, you can might be really creative and really resourceful, and it can help you solve problems where trying to go at it in the same way as other people can be hard. And I think in some ways, the way that we learn when we go to school or even in a workplace, there are methods to doing things. You think of learning math problems, and you're told to show your work, and they show you how to do it, and there's a way to do it. But if you start to get to where you're getting a little older in elementary school, 5th grade, 6th grade, or whatever, you're doing multiplication and you're finding, I can actually do this in 5 different ways. There's different ways to get there, and that's what kinda makes math fun. It's like a puzzle, and then you might have different ways of doing it than someone else. And some teachers might think, "That is fantastic. That is so great that your brain could think of all those ways." And it makes you excited about the subject. You might have a teacher that says, "No, we're learning it this way, and there's a reason you need to learn it this way, and don't do it that way." And that might make you not as excited about it or make you stop thinking outside of the box, make us think that we need to do something in a linear way, that it needs to be done in this one way and only that way. And maybe for success in a job or in order to have order in that environment, or maybe the teacher knows something that you don't know because it's leading to some other principal in that class. But it's still good to be able to see different ways to do things, and sometimes it, doesn't lead to success. Sometimes my methods for hanging up pictures, for example, ends up, with a whole bunch of holes in the wall that I end up covering up with the picture. But I would rather put multiple holes in the wall and eyeball it than do it in someone else's method and never get it done. Because I kind of like the eyeballing it and backing up and looking, and then, whatever picture hook or, that I buy or something. I like having those tools and figuring that out and doing it on my own. I don't know if it's a strength, but it's what I do well. It's the way that I do it well. So finding the way that you do it well is better than someone else's standard that you won't get done unless it really needs to be done their standard. And we won't really talk about that as much, if you have a boss or somebody that you're working for and it needs to be done their way. But if it doesn't, we really don't have to meet the expectation of the rest of the world or somebody on a YouTube channel that says it needs to be done that way. And it's important to give yourself that freedom because we can be really creative beings and we can enjoy things if we're able to express ourselves in certain ways and not think it has to meet a certain standard. I, I ponder things sometimes like home decor and what houses look like on the inside and the outside changes with the years and the decades, just like fashion does. And, I wear t-shirts and I'm wearing a ball cap because I put a toner on my hair and it didn't really change it that much. And I didn't really have time to do much with it. And so I put it on a hat at the risk that someone's not going to like this team, but I love them. I love the Dodgers. So I love a lot of baseball teams, but right now I'm really loving the Dodgers. So what I'm wearing, but back to fashion or how we decorate our houses, it's really individual. And I just think it should be an expression of who we are and what we enjoy and not have to match some, oh, that's not in style anymore, or I would never have furniture like that. I don't know. Maybe I've just never had enough money or that kind of money to be choosy like that or to care. I grew up in a small town. I really don't care. I like it to be comfortable. I like to feel cozy for me. I do go into other people's houses sometimes and think, "Oh, that's really nice." But I think that we need to do what feels right in our brains and makes us feel happy. And if you have a creative mind, use your creativity to do things in a way that is more playful, is is in a way that makes you happy and makes it doable. So the happy part could be doing the fun way or color coding, and that makes me happy to look and see my shirts color coded. I've done that before, and it's actually harder for me to find things that way. Like, I do better if I have all my T-shirts together and then all button-up shirts, which I honestly hardly ever wear because I don't know if you have clothing sensitivity, but buttons and seams, ah, I feel like I'm in a straitjacket or something, so I hardly ever wear them. But if I put all my black shirts together, I start to think my T-shirts are missing or something. I can't find them, so I do better. I guess that's leaning to my weakness of not being able to figure out where things are when they're color coded. Yeah, even certain ways of organizing my closet, like rolling up things or putting them in different buckets. If they're in a bucket, I don't always see them, and maybe I'm not wearing them anyway, but Yeah. There's always a struggle with that of having the perfect way of having my closet, but right now I'm pretty happy with it. It's clean, so I'm not gonna complain. But, when let's see. So this could even be things that not aren't just things that you're trying to get done, but whatever whatever your relationships are with people, you might have people skills, you might have a lot of empathy. I I was gonna say, I have been told recently on Reddit, actually. I was shown a study that says, um, that and this was in children with ADHD, that children with ADHD have less empathy and more pertaining to the hyperactive form of ADHD, which I think is a very common form of ADHD in children, especially boys, and not as common in adults, but still totally there. Hello, I'm one of them. But if if you are more empathetic than most, and I am, and I think there are a lot of women with ADHD who are, you can use empathy, you can use your people skills to help you in whatever you need to do in life, whether it's booking appointments or making a return or being able to negotiate something that you're doing. I teach yoga, me being able to negotiate getting a time for a class or a day for a class, pushing for things, maybe having a strength there. As you get older, that might strengthen. As I get older, it does because I think I'm not going to spend my time doing things I don't want to do. I'm not going to let people walk all over me anymore. So maybe I never did, but I think I did. And whatever is strengthening, whatever muscle strengthening in your being, use that to your advantage. Use that to maybe get an appointment with a doctor that you need when they say there aren't any. Use your resourcefulness and think, well, have you had any cancellations? And they say no. And say, well, what's the best time to call back each day to find out if you've had cancellations? And I've been told Monday mornings are really good because they get their voicemails before they open and they get all these cancellations and you can call in and you can get appointments or first thing in the morning on another day. And sometimes if you just keep asking questions and use your people skills, use your persistence, use your creativity, you can accomplish things that you might not be able to otherwise. Oh, I don't know. Um, yeah. I don't know. I think this is my guess. We have the ADHD brain that has strengths, but I think a lot of our strengths that we have happen because we have ADHD. Many of us either weren't diagnosed as children, weren't diagnosed as teenagers, weren't diagnosed as young adults, lived for me most of my life, probably most of my life before I die. It'll be the majority of my life will be not knowing I had ADHD unless I live past 100, which I hope to, but we'll see. But if that's the case, you've had to develop skills. You've had to become stronger. You've had to find ways to do well in school, to do well in your job. If you went to college, how do I organize this? I was blown away when I got to college how behind I felt all the time. In high school, I never felt like that. And I did go to a little high school. Granted, maybe it wasn't as hard as some other high schools, but I was able to get straight A's. I was able to use my people skills, and maybe those developed more because I needed them. But I used my people skills to get to know the teacher, not to brown nose them or, convince them to do something that they didn't want to. Not every teacher liked me, but to understand what their needs were, what they wanted, and give it to them and find a way to satisfy them. And when I say not every teacher liked me, it wasn't that they didn't like me, but you know how some teachers like the sports kids? I wasn't a sports girl. My best friend ran track. She played volleyball. She did all the the sports. I played no, I didn't play volleyball. I played volleyball for fun. When I went to my friend's volleyball practice to see if I wanted to play one year, I wasn't very good at all. I thought yeah, I wasn't very good. I was more like a anybody want to hang out and play volleyball kind of thing. I didn't know what actual volleyball games were like. And it was every sport was more social for me. I did love softball. I love to hit the ball hard. Pitching sounded horrific to me because a lot of pressure there. But I could throw the ball hard. I could play shortstop and second base really well. But for me, really, it's just out there being able to talk to people, sit on the bench and talk to people. Oh, yeah. I took tennis classes in college. I didn't know that there was a need for control. I could play ping pong, so I thought it was like ping pong. And I guess there's control with ping pong. You have to hit it on the table, but, hitting it hard is good if you can hit it on the table. And with tennis, I just didn't have the control at all. I found I wasn't good at a lot of sports, but I liked going. But yeah, whatever that is, if you had when I had teachers who liked the sports kids more than they liked me, ignored me, didn't come and talk to me on the sides and stuff, I thought, "Okay, I can still figure out how to get a good grade in this class." And I think those are good experiences to have. Not everyone has to like us. But, but I guess leaning to your strengths is not is partially using the skills that you have, the outside of the box ways that you may have to do something, but it's also drawing closer to things that will be easier for you, like finding a job to do, a hobby to do, a sport to do, if games, whatever it is, if you can control your environment, doing the things that aren't it's not like you're not gonna challenge yourself, but don't do things that are setting yourself up for failure or that you're not gonna enjoy. If you're not gonna enjoy playing tennis, then don't play tennis. If maybe that's pretty simple to understand, but some people feel a pressure to participate in things because their friends are doing it or their spouse is doing it, boyfriend, whatever, and you don't always have to do everything together. You can do things that you love without them, and you don't always have to tag along and just be the peacemaker and just not enjoy it. And you can pursue hobbies. You can find a new job if you can. Not that you have to quit what you're doing right now, but really think about what goes well with your way of thinking. Even if you do gather with friends and play games, maybe you love the board games that have letters like Scrabble or I like the talking games, like, what's that one where there's the buzzer and I can't even think of it right now. I like the ones where everyone's talking and sharing, of course. I think those are more fun, but I do like some like Yahtzee and stuff, that's fun, rolling the dice and things like that. Really, it's hard for me to sit for very long, though. I don't know if you're like that with a lot of games. It's like I can play them for a while, but then I need to get up and walk around. So, and really also creating the systems, which we talked about before, systems, routines, and everything that help build energy, help build that momentum, that excitement in you, and not away from it. So it's just aligning yourself, your patterns, what you do as much as you can with how you like to do it. And sometimes there's some exploration in that. You might have a system that's working for a while, and then you just start to find that it's going stale and you're not doing well with it anymore. And so my mom used to have a saying like, nothing works as well as a new broom or something. And in the olden days, a broom used to be a wooden stick with a straw, and it was literally straw. And they're pretty good. I'm sure they still sell them, but they're probably honestly, they're probably have some plastic in the straw or something. But at some point, that broom would get thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and what was once really bushy and spread out at the bottom was really worn down and maybe two-thirds of what it used to be. And at some point, it's not picking up the dirt as well, it's not doing as well, and eventually, it probably wasn't nearly as often as we order things or replace things now in our lives, but my mom would get a new broom, and she would say that when we would come up with a new system. We used to get up on Saturday mornings, and we'd all clean, or we'd have a system one summer for going out on Saturdays and helping with the gardening, or and whatever that system was that we had, it would work for a while, and then it wasn't anymore, and sometimes you just need that fresh start, that fresh idea, And that's, I think, why we like New Year's. It's a fresh start. It just feels like it's the beginning of a year. And so we feel like setting new goals. We feel like doing something new. We feel like committing to what we tried to do before and maybe doing it in a different way. And so, whatever that new broom is for you, if you need to change your system, and maybe that's what plays to your strength, is that you need a little fresh start. Have you ever just rearranged furniture to get that feel? To put your bed in a different side of the room. I love doing that. I always think that's so fun. I always think it's so exciting. Although right now, our house, our bed is, our room is set up so we really can't do that. We've been in this house for 3 years. But our bed is a king size bed. The room is good size, but it's not huge at all. And one whole side is windows, and the windows go this far to the floor. They're, like, I know I'm looking right here because this room's kind of similar, but I think the windows go even lower in our bedroom, like less than a foot from the floor. And so to put the bed in front of that, especially in Florida where it's humid, not a good idea. It's just going to get all moldy and stuff. And the other walls, one wall is a TV wall, and it's not even big enough for the bed, and the other wall is a wall on the way to the bathroom and closet, so it doesn't have room either. So I'm kind of sad about that. Kind of sad not to be able to move my bed. I guess we could move our bedroom upstairs, but I don't want to do that either. But I mentioned before is finding someone else. If you really don't have a strength for something and you need to get it done, find somebody who can partner with you and help you with it. If you have a husband, a boyfriend, a good friend, somebody that you can do that with, it's really helpful. I love that in my marriage, that there are a lot of things that I can't stand to do. There's a lot of things my husband doesn't like to do. And when I see he hates making these phone calls, I'm like, hey, you want me to make that phone call for you? Or I'll write to your doctor. I'll go on your little health online thing and write to your doctor and ask him this question, and happy to do it. Like, doesn't take any effort for me. It's very simple. And he does a lot of things for me that I don't like to do. I'm kind of the person that takes care of bugs in our house. So I wish I wasn't the only person who did that. But all those things can be helpful. So just finding someone who complements your weakness, or whether it doesn't even have to be a weakness. It could just be something that you don't have time to do, you don't want to do. Or it really is just, something that's really difficult for you. What's interesting with that is when we do something for a friend, sometimes doing that same thing for ourselves is harder because there's an emotional attachment sometimes for the actual person. So, like, if you were going to go help a person get rid of things and help them move and declutter or clean out a room or something, you're not going to have the same attachment to it. And clearly, you'll ask them, like, hey, are you okay getting rid of this? But you can be a little more brutal with things, and it can support them in that. Whereas them doing it alone might be hard, or you doing it for yourself might be a lot harder. So that's kind of interesting, is that our emotions are different when we do something for somebody else. We're like, oh, sure, I'll come in and do this. There's no draining effect for it. But tell yourself, when you do recognize these strengths and you recognize these things that are difficult for you, and you see other people able to do it, it's okay. We're all different. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that your challenges are different than other people's. And understanding that is so, so helpful. Um, Trying to think. I don't even know why I write notes, honestly, because I look at these and, yeah, can't make sense of them while I'm talking to you. Oh, dun 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 dun. I guess one thing I did think of asking you before I started, and I'll ask you now, but try to think of at least one thing, and maybe even three. You could do two if you want. I know there's an in between. But try to think of one thing that you can just say in your mind right now. I am really good at this. It's really easy for me to do this. And maybe that's easy for you to just name it, to just say, yeah, I'm good at this. I have no problem talking to people on the phone. I have no problem walking up and handling a confrontation. Or maybe that's not your strength. I have no problem just going in a room and saying, let's clean this up. I have no problem organizing a party. You might have some things that you think, yeah, and you might not think of them as strengths because you might think, well, that's fun for me. But what's fun for you is usually a strength, unless it's like a roller coaster or something. That's not a strength. But it might be. Maybe you're not afraid of heights, and that's a good thing. So you don't get dizzy as easily. But recognizing your strengths is really, really great. And having confidence in what you do, and just noticing like what is my natural flow energy, and then whatever's stunting that progress, look at that and think, how can I get this flow? How can I get this flow? Going back to that task paralysis, that's a tough one because it can affect all of us. Maybe not all of you deal with it, but it hits me a lot. It does. It didn't 5, 10 years ago. And I think my guess is that when my life was more structured at home because I had kids, it was pretty simple. I've got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. And that was enough to drive me to do it. And I wanted to do it. And I found a system to make that work. Having more open-ended time or not enough time are two struggles for me. So then without enough time, then I think, well, I don't have enough time to do it. And having too much time, I think, well, I don't need to do it yet. So instead, I'll do this. And that's, I think, where a weakness is because I don't want too much structure when I don't have enough time. I don't want to just like, and now when you have this very little time, you're going to do this. This is like, hey, maybe I need a little break. Okay. So maybe on those days it doesn't work. But on my days of open ended time, it's harder to tell myself you really need to do this right now when I really don't have to do it right then. So what would playing to my strength be? It really would be. I think that's why I rely on accountability because I do have relationships with people. I do have people that I can rely on to say, I want to get this done. Will you either A, help me, or I want to tell you at 3 o'clock today that I got it done, or just set little goals with each other. I'm going to get this done. Even just talking to other people who are doing similar things without actually having the accountability makes you feel that way. I have another friend that's doing a completely different endeavor for her way of making money, what she wants to spend her time with, what her hobbies are and stuff. She loves making jewelry. And so she's pursuing that. And it's really easy to see where the holes are for someone else with their structure, their setup. In fact, she has a lot of great setups, and she has some things that aren't going as well as she wanted. And I could see today when I was talking to one of the holes. And when I saw that, it helped me see where mine are too and what I could do to make that better. So sometimes just having a person to bounce ideas off of, to share what you're doing with, whether you actually have the structure to say, I need to work on this and I need to be able to report to you at 5 o'clock. Sometimes that's not always convenient and it's not always, doable. It's not always like the greatest way to have a friendship. Maybe it's not the way you want to share your time with each other. But just sharing what you're doing can help you be more aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and maybe be more motivating. And I know motivation isn't always what can get us out of a rut, but it can help us make sense of maybe a better flow or a better routine or what can help push that into gear. So, yeah, playing to your strength of having a friend who can help. And even noticing that, what motivates you? For me, talking to people, even just listening to people, listening to little Q&A sessions on podcasts or whatever it is that I'm doing, that I'm spending my time with, or with yoga. When I first started teaching yoga, I was just soaking it up right and left, taking more workshops, reading books, and listening to people's little webinars. They didn't do podcasts as much for yoga then. They probably still don't actually. Yoga is not a hot topic on on podcasts, but I would attend webinars and online things or even in-person things because being there would help me see myself and how I wanted to incorporate what I was learning and what I did. It was super, super helpful. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Just when I talk to you, it helps give you ideas of what strengths do I have? Is it my confidence in myself? Is it my ability to get up and go when I need to? Is it my ability to talk to myself and tell myself? Maybe for some people, they might think talking to yourself is not a good thing, but it can be a good thing if it can help you do what you need to do. It says, get up, walk. So I don't know if you've seen Gone with the Wind, but there's a part where Scarlett needs help. Oh, she always needs help. Anyway, I just remember one of the men said, "Horse, make tracks," or something like that. And that's sometimes what I think is like with my own legs, like make tracks, just start moving, just go, just go. Like I'm not telling a horse to do it, I'm telling myself to do it. So anyway, so excited to be here. I'm also excited to tell you that I am almost done with my website, like with my whole newsletter sequencing and stuff, which doesn't even probably make sense to anybody but me. But it's just the thing that's been tripping me up for a long time. And once I get that out of my way, it's almost out of my way. I've been working on it for a couple of days. I can have a clearer picture of what I'm doing here. And that can be good. That can be really good. Let me know what you're working on. I don't know if any of you are at home people, entrepreneurs, working remotely, working in person, not working, having children at home, full-time job, part-time job. I mean, we all do different things, but there are a lot of people who have the entrepreneurial desires when they have ADHD because you have ideas and they're burning ideas. That one book, what's it called? It's an ADHD book for women. It's one of the ones that my friend told me to get, and I liked it okay. I liked it better. Well, I have a harder time reading now. Okay, I'm gonna look it up. It's ADHD book, women. I can tell you. Nope, not that one. Okay, here it is. A Radical Guide for Women with ADHD. Embrace neurodiversity, live boldly, and break through barriers by, I need to give them the credit if I'm saying the name of their book. Okay, I know, don't give me a pop-up. I don't want 15% off. I'm just trying to find. Okay, this did not take me to just an easy answer. I want to find their names. It's probably, oh, here we go. Anyway, I have the book, but I lost it. So, and I have it on audio. I purchased it in February 2023. Sarah Solden, MS is the author. Michelle Frank, doctor in psychology. And one more. Who's the other one? Ellen Littman, PhD. She made the foreword. The other two are the authors. Um, I didn't love it as much as my friend who recommended it to me, and especially trying to read it because I have a hard time sitting and reading a book. But I listened to it on audio, and a lot of the things they give you scenarios and stuff of people, and if I can't relate to it, especially if they're telling me like, and we know you feel bad about yourself for this, and I think, but I don't, so then I tune them out. It's like, don't assume how I feel, please. So hopefully I'm not assuming how you feel. But but I really like there was a part, and honestly, I listen to it a lot when I'm falling asleep. So a lot of times when I do that, the next night, I should pick up this book again because I've actually run out of podcast episodes on this one podcast that's really drowsy sounding. I listen to it a lot and fall asleep, and I'm all caught up. But what I'll do is if I fall asleep pretty quickly, then I'll go back the next night and see where I fell asleep and then listen for 10 more minutes or 15 more minutes or whatever. That's my sleeping method lately. And with this book, there was one chapter that I really liked because they talked about how our brains can be just so creative that we have a lot of great ideas. And then that turns into goals and ideas. And I want to do this and I want to do that. And it's just a burning desire. And it can be hard because sometimes there are no guidebooks for that, especially when I first had a desire to write a book, I was 22 and I majored in English, but I wasn't a creative writer at all. Like I knew I couldn't make up a story for the life of me. So I thought, okay, well, what would it be on? I had no idea because I'm not really creative in that way. So I never knew what it would be. It's kind of like for a podcast, I thought for like 5 or 6 years, but what would it be about? I don't know. I try to think about ideas. I don't know. Until I found out I had ADHD. But um, thankfully, the desire to write a book, and I shouldn't say that because, it would have been a nice thing. I'm thankfully that left because it's hard to have a burning idea and then not act on it. But I don't think it left because, like, I didn't do it, because honestly, it was still with me probably into my 40s, so probably for 20 years. But who knows, maybe someday that'll come back and I'll write a book for for us. We'll see. But I, but yeah, I know what it's like to have that burning desire because you think about it all the time. And then, it shifted to you should teach yoga, which came out of the blue. I never thought I'd like yoga. And here I've taught yoga for over 20 years. So yeah, that was weird, but it did. And then the whole like have a podcast, like, you know, why is that in me? It is. And you might have something that's in you and that you wanna do, and you have ideas. And I don't know if you ever watch reality TV. Now I'm just talking like you're in my my house with me, if you ever watch reality TV, but there are a few people I've watched on there, a few women, probably about my age, that I've seen that I think they must have ADHD, or at least have this component of it, of just being this entrepreneur and having this idea of like, "I'm gonna make this." And they really can't, narrow it down because it's such a dream of all the things. It's kinda like, "I'm gonna write a book. What's it gonna be about? I don't know. But I'm writing a book. I'm designing the cover." Like, you can do all the things that you like. But that's okay to design the cover if you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing to your strength. You could get a step closer. That could get you there. It really could. But at some point, you have to do the other groundwork or paid somebody else to do that or have a little bit more concrete information. Really helped when I had a topic for my for my podcast. But, yeah, it would be fun to do a little. I have to get my website a little better. One of the reasons I switched website platforms is the new one has the capacity for a membership. I don't know if I wanna do that, have a membership, but memberships, courses, it's all in one thing where we could have some kinda thing that we do together, like everyone work on their business idea and and go through these steps and just make progress together. It'd be fun. But I need to find out where your interests are, where your struggles are, where you are in your life, if that's not even something that you want to do. One of my friends who's not quite my age, she's 5 years younger, but she hasn't been diagnosed, but she's positive she has ADHD too. But she told me probably 5 years ago when I was all, "Yeah, I wanna have a podcast and I wanna," and all this stuff, and she said, "Somebody asked me what my goals are." She's like, "I don't have goals anymore. I'm, like, in the mode of wanting to relax," "I wanna slow down, not go faster," and I thought, "I wanna go faster." I'm feeling like, I mean, obviously, I'm a yoga teacher, so I know I need to slow down too, but I'm feeling like when you get older, if you've even hit your 40s, you're probably thinking, hopefully you're not thinking, "Oh, I'm so old," because 'cause you're not. You're not that old. You're just 40 or 48, whatever you are. It's not that old. And then you hit your 50s and you're like, "Oh, this is kinda legit older." And then now I'm 60. I am 60 years old. And you start to think, "Okay, that is getting to that latter, it is in the latter half of life. Okay, let's, like, we can't pretend it's not unless I live to 120, which isn't very likely, but, it would be fun if that could happen." My friend, my age, my college friend, just had her birthday yesterday, so she just turned 61, and I need to text her, but I forgot. But she told me I don't wanna live past 100 because it's not pleasant. So, but my plan is to live to 100 and have it be pleasant. But there are people that you start to realize, like, I didn't do this in my 20s when I wanted to write a book. I didn't do this in my 30s. I did great things. I had children and loved that life. That was a great thing. I didn't do all those things, like, at some point, if I wanna do them, I gotta do them now. Now's the time. So, I think that's what drives me, and maybe that, like, playing to a strength. What does drive you? What is your strength? Is it even just an idea or a concept? I'm not getting any younger, not something to be sad about, it's something to rejoice about because aren't we glad that we still get to be on this earth? So that's something to be joyful about. And if you do need to slow down, that's okay too. That can be your mode. But if that something drives you to do more, and it does help you do more, then you do. Something drives you to slow down and you need to create that pace for your life, then that's what you do. But you find what drives you, you find what energizes you, you find where you pick up and go, I can do this. And then that's where you do well in life and do well life. Words don't always come out the way I want them to, but that's okay. I think that's it. I think that's it. I'm going to close out my little window that gives me ideas of what to talk about. I am so excited to finish up with my podcast episodes this week because, well, I'm going to be gone all next week. So I need to record next week's episodes this week. And I made this dumb little goal when I made episode 100, and it sounded smart because I know people. So this was not playing to my strength. It sounded smart. There are people who do things like they really set up structure in their lives, and they say things like, every month's going to have a theme. And I did try that, I think, in February and March and stuff. Every month is going to have a theme, and that's what we'll focus on in my gym. I worked at a gym that did that, and I just thought it was fantastic. I love that she did that. I loved her commitment to it. I loved her ideas. I loved all of it. But it's not me, but it was an idea, and I tried it. And then I had an idea on, impulsive part of my ADHD while I was recording that episode 100. And I had 10 things that I was talking about that each of the 10 things had 10 things. And so it was supposed to be 100 ideas. And I thought I really can't talk about 100 of these ideas in depth. So I'll go into the 10, kind of gloss over the other times 10. And 101 through 110 will be about those 10 things. I felt so locked into that. I've stuck to it. I had to reverse the order for 104 and 104 and 3. And thank you for bearing with me while I kept talking about that because I had to get myself to at least do that. But I'm on 108 now. I only have 2 more. And then I'm like, freedom. I can talk about whatever I want. And I know I can anyway, but I'm trying to be true to my word. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. If you want to check out my website and see if it even looks any different, if you have even looked at it before, it may not look much different. I need a new picture. It doesn't really look like me. I had my hair cut shorter, and it was Easter, and it was curly, and I never wear it down. It's straight today because I just straightened it. But yeah, I wear it pulled back all the time. I'm going tomorrow to get my root touch up and highlights, and I decided not to book a haircut too because why I always pull it back. So I don't, yeah. So that's that. That's my excitement. I don't even know I brought up the hair thing, but thank you for listening. Oh, because my picture. Yeah, it's a shorter haircut. So I'll probably just pull it back in a ponytail and do a different picture or wear a hat. We shall see. It's just one of those things that is not my expertise. It's not my strength. It's the photo taking thing. So I might have to get my daughter to take one, but she took the last one. I need to get her to take 100 because clearly I'm just not happy with that last one. But anyway, that's it. That's it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Feel free to contact me. I do have a contact form on my website. I even have, if you go to my About page, I figured out how to, instead of making you fill out a form, which you can do that and get on my newsletter email list, which I would love because I share ideas and stuff that I forget to talk about here or that might, just be a little more clear there and we can write back and forth. But I also figured out how to just say, you can email me here and there's a link. This is my exciting thing. There's a link and it actually just takes you to your email and I'm already in the to window or whatever. I have to cough and I don't know how to do a cough button. But maybe I do. I'll just try to not cough. I'm almost done. Okay, let's do a little pause, just a second. Something you might not know about me is I have really bad asthma and trying to hold back a cough and saying I'm going to cough turns into a whole coughing fit. So I think I can talk, but clearly my voice isn't much better. I'm going to keep it weak. Anyway, I need to say goodbye. So thank you so much for being here. Just keeping it real. I could wait and do a little real, normal voice of goodbye later, but I won't. Because I want this to be as real as can be. We live in a world of AI this. I cannot stand AI voices on YouTube videos or even podcast backgrounds. Sometimes they do them in the I don't know what they do. You can tell when the voice is like auto-tuned or something. Drives my brain nuts. It kind of feels like pins are going into my head or something, needles. So anyway, so I'm keeping it real. So hopefully my post-coughing voice doesn't sound like that to you. But thank you for being here, and I'll be back. I'll be back. I'm gonna record another one for this week and 2 for next week, and I probably will record more for when I get back because I find when I get back from a trip, it's hard for me to get back into it. That's another episode to come. I was just reading on it must have been a Reddit post about ADHD that there's someone, no, it wasn't. It was actually in a Facebook ADHD group, but that there's a ADHD expert doctor person who has a name for it, that there's this period of time that we need to regroup, which is really obvious to a lot of us. But I'm really curious what happens in the brain. And I've been trying to find that post and find out who that doctor is and kind of learn about it, like what the technical thing is that's happening, because I find that when I get back, it's like, what? I can't do all those things that I normally do. I gotta regroup here and just do the basics. So, anyway, I will be back this week and next and beyond. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.